Hey guys, my name is Jose Miramontes for Fancy Lizard Studio, and today we're going to be teaching you how to blend materials in Blender cycles. So what do I mean when I say blending materials? Well, these are the two textures we're going to be using. We're going to be using a rocky gravel texture and a sand soil texture. Now what you notice with the rocky gravel is that it has a displacement, and in some areas the gravel actually pops out from the sand. Now, how did I achieve this? How are we going to achieve this? We're going to achieve this by creating an image texture that tells Blender where to put the sand and where the displacement should not affect the rest of the texture. So, let's get started. First off, something we need to know, you need to be an experimental. For whichever you're using, your GPU or your CPU, you need to be an experimental for this to work out for you. Now let's look at the textures we're using. I'm going to be doing a lot of safety saves, so I hope you don't mind. Now the first texture is the gravel texture, and both of these textures we got off of textures.com. I'll send you a direct link in the description so that way you guys can get them yourselves if you want. And yeah, I created a normal map and displacement map for these textures, for mostly this texture, but yeah, for these textures through a online normal map generator. I'll put a link in the description for that too. As you can see, the displacement map pops out some of the rocks they pop out some of the rocks on the entire mesh. So let's go ahead and go back into material view, and going down here we're going to go into our node editor. We're going to take a look at our gravel texture. Now for the purpose of this tutorial, I am going to assume you know how to create a shader, you know how to plug in textures to nodes, you know how to do all that. So now we're just only going to be focusing on the displacement to save up on time. Alright, so the gravel rocks, there's nothing too special. I just plugged in textures, diffuse, normal, specular that are created on that site that I told you about, the normal map generator. And this one has a displace texture map on it to make everything pop out and physically pop out. The sand texture, soil ground sand texture, nothing too special, just a diffuse with some other maps applied to it. And yeah, so we can go ahead and get started, get this all underway. We're going to go into a new layer. Going to click over here, Shift A, create a plane. Going to scale that up, and so we don't run into problems later. Press Tab, U, unwrap. Now when we go to create a texture, you don't have something like missing data. But if that does happen, we'll talk about it. No worries. Press N, and underneath Item, gonna rename it to our blended mesh material thing. Okay, so press Tab, and we are going to create a new texture. Gonna call it blended material shader. And first off, we're going to get rid of the diffuse by clicking it, right-clicking it, and pressing X. Now we're going to go back to the textures we had before. We're going to pull out the groups, copy them, and because they're in a group, everything inside, all these things are going to be copied with it. So we're going to copy, back, click this, paste, yada yada yada, and we're going to place the shader onto the surface just to make sure it works. We can see it in the preview and we can see it here. Okay, going to go back, get our sand texture, copy, click this, paste, make sure this works because you never know. something crazy could happen. Anything crazy could happen. Safety save. Now we're going to put a mix shader right here. And do it right here. Now what you notice right off the bat is that it's a 50-50 split. One half is the sand, the other half is the gravel. So we're going to create a texture to fix that issue. So press 7 and we're going to go into orthographic view by pressing 5. Now it's completely flat. There's no perspective to it. And now we're going to go into texture paint. Now if you see something like missing data, that's because you did not do what I said earlier, and shame on you. So just in case you have missing data there, press tab, press U, unwrap. Okay, go back into texture paint, and we're going to go under here where it says slots. Now by default it should be in material. What you want is image. Now it should look like this right now. What I had earlier is what I made earlier, so don't even worry about that. And you're going to create new. Let's call this sand, not snad, sand gravel blend. And we're going to make it 2048 by 2048. Okay, we're going to uncheck alpha. So it's going to be completely black when we create this texture. Press OK. Now that we created it, press Shift A on your node editor. Going to go into image texture. And because we created it, we're going to look for this specific texture right here. So click this little picture icon here, and you're going to search for sand gravel blend. Now you can apply it here. What you notice right away is that it is completely one texture now. So how it works is that Blender looks at it as the factor. A factor of 1 is the sand, and a factor of 0 is the gravel. When you're using colors, black and white, black is 0, white is 1. Alright, keeping that in mind, what's going to happen is that we're going to be putting some white around in some areas, and that's going to be where the sand is. Alright, and let's go ahead and get that started. Go click here where it says Tools. Make sure everything is completely desaturated. It's completely white. Under Mix. Now the fall off curve is completely up to you. I like to click it this one here, so that way I have a good fall off, 100% in the center, and then it just fades out to 0, or whatever number is in the infinite void. So press Shift F, and we're going to adjust the strength. You can adjust it to however you want. I'm just going to put it here for a number. And let's go ahead and get painting. No need to have a stylus or whatever. I'm just using my mouse for this. So let's go ahead and start here. It's painting white, and that white is the gravel, is the sand that we see. So I'm going to paint that. Now we want some rocks to stick out. How are we going to do that, you might ask? Well, this is where you get a little nitpicky. Press F to change the size of your brush. And we're going to paint in the little cracks and crevices stuff. And this part that we're not covering up is what's going to stick out when we place the displacement map on. So you can be as nitpicky as you want. Me, I'm just really meh. Well, for this tutorial I'm really picky, so don't mind me. You know, you could join along, you know, it's like coloring in between the lines. We can have like a coloring book session. But that's just me. Or if you want, you could sit back, relax, grab a beer, and have a life more than me. Well, I stay here all locked up doing this tutorial. Alright. Got enough of the cracks and crevices that I want. Gonna change the strength. adjusting the strength can have some good and bad effects. It just depends on you. I like to have some areas pop out a little underneath the sand, and other areas not to pop out as much. You can change the color to the value, by moving this thing here. You have it grayish, it'll make the sand not pop out as much or pop out a lot. And I'll just fill up right here. This should be good. Okay, so because of how we painted this, it's a little crude, mind you. These rocks that aren't covered in the sand are going to pop out when the displacement is applied. So, safety save. Ta-da! Object mode, and we're going to go into, we need a sun lamp. But first let's move this up a little because this grid is bugging me. Shift A, plane, scale it up, gonna rotate it, move it up, move it back, create lamp, gonna call it lamp, change diffuse to emission. Alright, I'm gonna go into rendered, and it's not that bright, so let's brighten it up a little. Let's put 5. Ooh, actually that looks nice. Alright, now this is in the way though, so let's get it out of the way. Go into your object properties panel, go all the way down to cycle settings. Under ray visibility, click camera. Now you don't see it anymore. Ta-da! Alright, what you notice right away is that it's flat. It's like, Jose, what is this? This is some kind of... What? You tricked me. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to go into Modifier tab and click Subdivision Surface. Let's change the levels up to 8. And when we go in, and when you render it out, let's change that into 10. So the render is going to be at 10 subdivisions, the view is at 8. But nothing changed here. Oh, but before I forget, optimal display and use open subdiv. Safety save. So nothing's happening right now. That is because we have nothing in our displacement. So let's go into solid because I've run into problems before. And we're going to click this guy here. Now, what you do is that you get an image texture and you use the displacement. I already have it here, so I'm going to copy it, paste. So just in case, you're gonna create a image texture, image texture, open. Now where I have mine, I have them here. Gravel. And click here so that way I can see the images. And displace map. Okay, so it popped out. And I am going to, just because I'm nitpicky about these things, RGB to black and white. And then I'm going to create a math node. I'm going to plug it in here. You can check out your shader in the preview, how it's affected. And I am going to click multiply. Now the thing about this is that it uses micro displacement. So in your shader you need to go down into your settings, and instead of bump, you're gonna open it up. You're gonna see 3 different things. I know with bump, from my understanding, it's just a regular bump, and when you use both, it gets kind of wonky. So I suggest using true because there's only one true displacement. Got that out of the way. As you can see in the preview, it starts bumping up. Now, if you don't see this displacement right here, you need to go into your render tab right here, and you might be under supported, so change it to experimental instead. Make sure you're on experimental. So now that we got that out of the way, let's turn on material. A quick safety save. Sorry if that's getting annoying. Now we are going to go into our rendered view. Nothing's happening. That is because we don't have a subdivision surface modifier on it. Right now it's just one face, so there's not much to displace with one face. So I'm going to add a subdivision surface to this. I may have put it on the wrong thing earlier before, so sorry about that. Underneath your view, let's change it to 8. Now you see it gets all rocky. If you zoom up close, it looks a little like flat faces. Let's change that. Make sure you're in object mode and click smooth. Okay, now what you're noticing right here is that it gets really bumpy, and not only that, it's bumpy everywhere. I mean like everywhere. Even where the sand is. So how do we fix this? Let's go back to our node editor, press Shift A, go into our color, mix RGB. Okay, and for me I'm gonna make a black, this color black, color number 2 black. Now the same way we put our texture we created into the factor for the mix shader, we're going to do the same thing but for our mix color, mix RGB. Now you don't notice anything right now, that's because Blender's stupid, so you have to press tab to see your changes take effect. Now you might be thinking to yourself, whoa, 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 that's a lot, that is too much, which I would agree with you. So we're going to go into our multiply. Now the reason we put this here is so we have more control of the displacement, so that way we can adjust it like so. Let's change this value to 1. And we gotta press tab every time we want to see if something changed. So it looks a little better now. The sand is clear. Let's change it to simple on our subdivision modifier. Okay, so now we see the whole thing a little better. In the areas that we painted around the rocks, they're popping out a lot more compared to the other areas. Now, how much of a displacement you want is completely up to you. I can change it a little more for mine. Press tab, see if it changes. Now you're going to have to go back and forth like this, changing this, and then going here and pressing tab, see what it looks like. But yeah, for the most part, that's it. That's how you blend materials together. These are 2 separate materials. The gravel is its own material, and it's mixed with the sand material. Now, let's not forget in our render, we want that pretty high. So yeah, you can using this, you can make some cool little blends, little blending effects, however you want to look at it, and you can have some fun with it while you're at it. So I hope that was of good amount of help. I hope I explained it well enough. If you guys want, you could come visit our website. I'll put a link in the description for that too. You know, just prostituting myself for the sake of our tutorials. Yeah, give us a hi in the comments. Let me know if I missed something or if you had questions. I'll feel free to ask. I'll be sure to try to answer as quickly as possible. And yeah, if you have any suggestions, we'd love to hear that. So yeah, you can check out our live streams on Sundays too. So yeah, I'll have the links in the descriptions for the textures, the normal map generator, and our website. So yeah, I hope you guys had fun. Happy blending. See ya.